What is up, my friends? Jesse with Jessman Sports Cards. Today, we're going to go over some Michael Jordan card update history. Basically, we'll go over about 10 cards. We'll start from 87 and then we'll work up to 94. So we'll just jump right in using Card Ladder. This is 1987. So a second year card or a third year card, depending on how you look at the rookie season, rookie year. That's all I'll mention about that going forward, but just something to take in consideration. I set everything to 2 years. PSA, we'll look at 2 grades for every card. The nice thing here is it shows the pop reports. Basically down a little bit, but I would just call this flat. It kind of came down and then it's just gotten flat for the last year, I would call it. With a population of 8,000, I think that's just the way it's going to be. With that high of a pop, would you pay $492? Is the true question. I can answer that for myself, and that's a no, but I choose to collect it in a little different way. For the 9, much lower population, about a quarter of the cards. I would say this has been more of a flat to uptrend in general, so I would call this up 5% over the last 2 years. Still $1,400 for 2,700. You can buy a really nice insert for this much, but I get it. Set collectors, popularity, demand, supply. It is what it is. 1988. Still pretty cool. Pose. I think I like the 87 a little more. Up to you. And then it's good to look at the populations too as we go along. So this is a pop basically 10,000 for a PSA 8, down 6%. Much higher transactions here as in the last year than say 2 years ago. Probably a lot more graded. If you're not familiar with Card Ladder, something you can do is they track the population growth of the card once they've entered the card into Card Ladder. So let's see, what is it? It's June. June last year, there was 8,000, and now there's close to 10,000. So there's been 2,000 cards added over the last 2 years. So about 1,000 cards per year. I think that's also something to take into consideration. Excuse me. Drinking a little carbonated water. I think true growth takes off once this flattens out. So to me, this says there's still a lot of these cards out there being graded or regraded, trying to get higher grades. But just something to take into consideration. The slower I see this moving and the flatter, the more, just my own personal belief, not investment advice, the greater chance I think it has at essentially the price going up. So I think this is a positive sign. It stayed flat with 2,000 extra cards coming on the market. So I think that's a positive sign too. Just different ways that I look at this. The 9, you have 8,000, and then for the 87, you have 2,000. So the 87 is a much lower population than a PSA 9. That's something to consideration too as the years go on. Populations increase and decrease. 256 for a population 8,000. Up to you. And 11% decline. I'd say again that came down for about a year and then flattened out and it's been flat. So last year I call that flat. 89 populations continue to get higher. 9. Some of these I started at 8 and other ones I started at 9. Pretty flat. That's all I'll say on that one. 10. Rate of growth is 20%. I wouldn't quite call it 20% because we're catching it at a high peak here. But maybe, because I mean, the high peak really was there. I'd call this flat. I don't know if I'd call it 20%. It is 20% from that point to that point over the course of 2 years. Decent looking photo. Fleer. So we did Fleer for the first 3 cards. I don't know how I feel about this one. $1,000 for something in a population of over 1,000. The populations grow more. PSA 9, 29,000. Like, that is just nuts, though, to think about. But I mean, if you've been around the hobby, you saw these cards everywhere. You could get them everywhere. For the longest time, these were considered zero value. And I mean, at $30, that's close to the grading fee anymore. PSA 10, 187 for a population of over 8,000. Again, that's up to you if that's worth it or not. If just to see how much, yeah. So June, we're talking about 6,000, and it's up another 2,000. We saw that in some other cards. So it's like 3 a day of these are getting graded over the last 2 years. So that's kind of impressive that this has stayed flat. I think it's just when will the population quit growing, and I think that's when you'll start to see a slow uptick. With this high population, I would be surprised if it takes off rapidly. But 91, I included this because I was collecting at the time. Upper Deck with the hologram at the time was considered kind of the premium set. SP, this was considered a short print. Just interesting that a short print and a PSA 9 is 10,000 copies. It's just crazy to me. But I can remember really wanting this card. I forget how many packs that we opened. We never really were opening boxes back then as kids, but I think maybe you saw one of these in the card shop, and I forget how much it was, but it was not cheap. So PSA 9 of this, get it for $58. Maybe that hits the right nostalgia buttons for $60. I don't know. 10, you got 2,000 compared to the 10. So I guess compared to 90 to 91, calling it a short print, maybe it was harder to get centered. I don't know. 4% growth. $460 on that one still seems, I don't know, pricey. So June, 2,100, and we're up to, see, this one's been graded a lot less, 700. So that's like a card a day compared to this one, which was like 3 cards a day, which is just nutso being graded. And it's just like a card a day getting this grade. So I can see this one staying flat. And I mean, to me, that curve already doesn't that look like it's starting to flatten out a little bit? I mean, it's kind of had those points and then taken off and then flattened out. I like this curve a little better. From the collecting standpoint of rarity and stuff, but $460, man, gets you a nice insert still. 92, I picked this card because it's card 1, so it's the alpha card on the set. Iconic, dunking over Ewing. Stadium Club at the time was high gloss. The pictures were amazing. I've even thumbed through a lot of these sets recently, and just 92, 93 Stadium Club. Even the later years, 2001, I bought a set of that, and the pictures are amazing. Anyways, I digressed. PSE 10, 813, 260. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing, right? Just to compare some of these. Population is 2,800, so it's what? 6 times higher population here, but the price is double. I don't know. I think there's a little less card choices to choose from overall, total sets in 91, but something to consider. Show a couple out of this set. Members only. I've talked about this on my channel before. These were essentially had to be part of the members club, so you have to mail in and pay for this. Much more rare. You go from 800 down to 200, and the price 3 to 4 X's, 10% growth, 203. I'd like to have one of these. I have it in an 8. Just maybe a 9 is worth it at that population. I don't know. Another one I wanted to look at in this is the Beam Team. This is considered one of his first true inserts, however you want to look at that. You can beat me up in the comments if I'm wrong. Feel free to. This one's done well. It's grown 81%. So this would have been a smart buy 2 years ago. You bought it at the low point here and sold it here. You almost doubled your money over 2 years. That's not bad. We can take a look at the little population growth. June, we'll call it 1,000 up to 2,700. So that's a little less than one a day. Still pretty high for me, in my opinion. And then there's also the Beam team. Do we want to take a look at the 10? 10s have been going nuclear, right? Not really on this card. Pop 110, maybe that's why. I think the 10s where there's only there's less than 100 copies, they've been going a little more nuclear. But man, $8,000. And then what I really want to show is the Beam team members only. That's crazy. 68. So it's like a pop half. And it's roughly the same price. Did I do that right? 8,500. 8,100. Yeah. So I think to me there's some value in here. It's got a little stamp here. It's harder to see on the inserts. What do you think? Value here? I think so. And then the 9. Still not cheap. But it's done well. 74%. I own an 8 of a Beam Teams member only. I think I picked mine up more than 2 years ago. I paid like $225, $250. So $539 total pop. I think that's all I wanted to show from 92. 93. This should be a fun one. I learned some stuff doing the research as I was building the video on this one. Very interesting here. Some stuff I hadn't expected. Cool to kind of do the research and for you guys to see this. PSA 9 Scoring Kings iconic card. The 9's done pretty well, 50%. Like flat, and then it's kind of popped a little bit. Maybe it's finding a new bottom here. I don't know. I think the most 372 is fairly low pop, I would consider. This is a highly desired card. This is what surprised me the most is the 8, which has transacted quite a bit. I mean, this you used to be able to get this card for 800 steadily for a long. It was just always 800, and then like the last since the end of March, so April, May, June. So for 3 months, it's crept up there, and the sales have been pretty consistent. I don't know if they're gonna hold up there. I was surprised to see that it's up 74%. I'm always pretty transparent. I had an 8. I bought it for close to 800 like 4 or 5 years ago, and I sold it for 800. I broke even. I was trying to get into some bigger cards. Famous nicknames. This is kind of a higher pop card. An 8, yeah, you can get for under $50. It's still not crazy population, but and then I can show this. A lot of people didn't realize this, but they've had the designers on some shows. This is actually broken glass in the back, and I think Fleer Ultra didn't learn about that till later, and they weren't crazy about that it was broken glass. The famous nicknames Air Jordan. That's there. Pop of 1,000, $100, and then the 10 is crept up there, $259, $1,000. I don't know, man. There's a lot more rare stuff that I think I would want to have. Power in the Key, flat over the last 2 years. It was kind of high, and then it came down, finally the bottom, and it's back up. I was a little surprised on this as well. 9, it's up a little bit, $1,000. think I was more surprised in like the 8s on some of these cards. It's up 20%. Man, this used to be 100, like 180 to $200 card all the time. I guess it's still that, really. Okay, it hasn't changed much. This is, I know I have an 8 of this. I don't know if I have a 9. The 8's a pop 1000. It's flat, $20. This is where it gets a little crazy. 9 is a 355, and it's $100. But this is, I mean, this is technically an insert. Maybe a bunch of these are laying around. This is the tricky thing. I don't know how to. I'd love to hear your comments down below. But I'm going to switch over to the Scoring Kings. Pop 355, PSA 9, 372. So one's $100 and the other one's $2,800. There's a lot more people that want to own this card. I get it. But if you're like a rarity person and looking for maybe a decent deal, I mean, I don't know. For $80, you could scoop one up at auction. I mean, they don't go down that low that often, but maybe if you're patient, there was a couple opportunities here. The kicker is how many of these are just sitting around being waited to grade. If this value went up to $200, would a bunch more get graded? That's the thing I don't know. There's your kind of your growth chart. I feel like something's here. I could be wrong. Pop 50. Yeah. I kind of am like in the 9. I have to check to see if I have one. I definitely have an 8. I don't know if I have a 9. And I'm curious if I sold my 8. Anyways, 94. Finest is always something I felt weird about. 93 was Jordan's first year finest card. 94 was the year he retired, came back mid-season. I think that was after his dad died. He wore 45 until he got to the playoffs, and then he switched back to 23. This is the refractor. Jordan's refractors always have a strong market. 8 with coating, and then there's without coating 2. I personally like it better without the coating. Are you a coating, non-coating? Let me know down below. I like the 94 design a lot better than the 93 too. How do you guys feel? Are you more OG 93 or like kind of low newer school? I like the colors a lot better on the 94. I don't know how crazy I am with the 45. I've always felt a little weird, but 600 too. They don't show any lower grades. And then 1500. I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I wouldn't mind having it, but the price doesn't really match what I want to pay for it. 94. I do have a PSA 9. I think I showed that off in my last video of my collection. Kind of 88 through 94. So kind of matching that up. These aren't necessarily cards that I own. I try to say if I do own them. This is a pretty high pop. Pop 1000, 300. Yeah, so. And then the 10s jump up almost double the money. And it's pop 641. I don't know if these have slowed down really. Really took off, and then it's kind of flattened out a little bit. I don't know. So what do you think the best deal is in here? We went from the 87 to recap, the 88, the pops grew a little more, 89 grew even more, 90 exploded, 92 the short print on the population came down there a little bit. We looked through the beam teams and then there's the member's choice. We didn't look at that. I was trying to pull up the base card. I don't know why I'm struggling with that. Anyways, 93, we looked at all the inserts, and there's the base as well. We didn't look at that. Decent population at 2,000. A 10 does about 143. Yeah, so I think there's some hidden value in here, like we went over. Up to you if you believe that or not, or collect what you want to collect. Cool Jordan refractor, finest, but he's wearing 45, and then he's wearing 45 again, and then 94, and then probably the next videos we'll pick up in 95 and go from there. If there's anything else that you really wanted to see, non-Jordan related, let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to get to it. Especially if you comment and interact with me, I'm more than happy to try to oblige if I feel like I can help out. And that's all I have. Peace.